Hey there, thank you for dropping by. We're diving into Sketchbook again today, and we're gonna take a look at a drawing I did this week of a city street scene in my sketchbook. So something a little different from what we've done before with cities, where it was all about epic facades and huge buildings and somewhat of a confusing sense of scale. This is gonna be a smaller scene with a lot clearer sense of scale. Gonna try and keep it simple, but put all the elements I need in the drawing to make it interesting and clear for the viewer. So, as usual, this will be a 2-point perspective drawing. I will put a distant point on my left page here, and one just on the side of the frame that I've just drawn on the right side. To change things up a little and get a different angle, I'm going to keep those points very low. So I'm going to have a low horizon like you see here. And that's going to make, I think, bring a bit of variety to my sketchbook. So here we go. First vanishing point is here, and the second one will be just there on the right. We're going to go quickly through the setup phase. I know that I want passerelles, or let's say some levels on the left side. I want a back wall that's going to be pretty much just a wall in the back, and I want an open sky, so there'll be no ceiling, no roof on this drawing. You'll see the sky somewhere at the top of the image. I want a vehicle somewhere in there. I guess I could have spent more time on it, but well, I came up with something that's acceptable for the sketchbook. And this will be a good occasion to practice architecture figures, just putting little people left and right here to give an idea of the scale of the place. So we're going to go super quick through the pencil, and we're going to come back once I've put all the elements in place and talk about it. Here we go. So here we go, we've put all the elements in place. I went back and forth a little bit on the design. I didn't have a super clear picture again when I started this. The process is a lot of improvisation. To draw the vehicle that's in the middle here, all I did was draw a little box and fit it in there. So never underestimate the power of being able to draw boxes in perspective. That allows you to carve whatever object you want out of them. It's a very useful tool. Don't underestimate it. So I've put a character or two in here. They're going to change a lot. That little dude on the right looks like he's falling down. Not too happy about that, so we will make him a bit better, and we'll add a few ones to the left. There's that little opening I wanted in the ceiling here, just below my ruler. This will be the sky, and we're just going to ink this gently. And yeah, all the elements are already pretty much there. So now it's going to be about putting the ink down and the color, and throw a little bit of texture on it. I'm going to be super limited in the colors I'll use because, well, I'm running out of markers again. Which reminds me, support me on Patreon and help me buy some markers so I can do more of these. Yeah, so we'll keep it limited in the tones, but enough to show some light left and right. There are going to be some windows on the left side where the people are. They're going to have some light behind them, and there's going to be the sky, and there's going to be a couple of cast shadows coming down. I'm going to be using the ruler and going freehand as well for the inking part here. I mean, there's no rule. Practice what you want. I think it's always healthy to go freehand, but of course you'll get a neater result if you use your ruler. So you can always go freehand, and if it's not like you want, if it's too wobbly, then go over using the ruler. You can hide double lines, you can hide things later on. Don't worry too much about it. Okay, let's skip through the inking. If you have any specific question about this part or the previous one that I've time-lapsed, just write in the comments and I'll do my best to answer you. Also, if you think I should do less time-lapse on these things, let me know as well. I'm going to try and keep this in the 20-30 minute range again, but it's a 3-hour drawing, so we're going to have to go pretty quickly through some of the stages. Anyway, here we go again. Catch you after a bit of elevator music. Here we go. So we've put our outlines on this and we added a few little details for some paneling and some texture, and we added our little people. The little people are super stylized. There's a lot of good resources on YouTube on how to do these guys. The more you do, the easier it gets. I hadn't done them in a while, so I kind of struggled, but take a look, learn to do these being relaxed, and they'll turn out better than you think most of the time. Alright, for color, we're going to stay in my favorite light bluish cold grays. Had to go pretty dark because I'm out of the lighter ones, but I think it'll work. You see, this one is drying out, so I'm gonna have to use a darker tone. This is me desperately trying to make this thing work for shit. I hate this stupid. But nevertheless, we will make this work. So here I'm using a 4 and it's not okay. So we'll be using a 5, and I think we'll be using a 7 and possibly a 9 for the shadows later. And that's about it. Oh yeah, and a 0 for the windows. So time lapse again until we have some colors set in this. Let's go. Right, it's all muddy at this stage, but the colors are in, so I've used one for everything that's facing the right hand side, which is my number 5, and then I used a slightly darker one for the back wall, and I've used the same, I believe, with possibly a touch of a darker one for the under part of those bridges the people are walking on. Now I'm going to be putting a bit of shadow here with the darkest marker, which I believe is a 9. Imagine my light source is somewhere on the top right of the image, coming through that little hole here. I'm eyeballing it, trying to keep it simple. I'm not trying to be dead accurate. I just want to convey the impression that there's strong light coming from the outside. We don't have to worry too much about accuracy here. So there you go. Use the darkest value for your shadows, and it should kind of work. After this, all that's left to do is throw a few highlights and a little bit of weathering. Weathering, by the way, I think will be the topic of the next video I'll make. I did a cityscape not long ago that I haven't shown here on YouTube yet. We could go quickly over the drawing itself and spend a little more time on the weathering process and basically how to draw rust and dirt and things like that. Let me know if that's something that would interest you, and we'll see what we can do. Alright, let's hurry again with that wonderful music over the shadow part. Alright, the shadows are done. Time to put some highlights in this using my white pencil, which is something I'm still learning to use. I'll actually be using a couple of other highlighters on this drawing that didn't work out fantastically well. mostly because I don't know how to use them right. They're pens I haven't used much. They're Faber-Castell Pit Artist Pen Bullet Nib White. And I just have to get used to how the ink works in these. It's not as opaque as a Posca pen, but not far, and clearly not as light as this pencil, so you'll see me struggle a bit and probably swear in a few languages. Anyway, let's go and do the ridges and the panel separation on these elements. I like that this pen, if it comes out too wide, I can just brush it up a little like this and dim it. I think that's really going to be my go-to from now on when it comes to this sort of highlights, and I'll keep the ink for some really vivid spots left and right. So what we're going to do is go over all the panel lines, all the cuts, try to figure out where light would fall on different segments, different elements. Super light, no stress. You can pretty much erase it with your finger if you put too much of this, so there's not a lot of pressure, but it makes a difference. We're going to be doing the same in the back wall here. And yeah, I know you like the music, so let's go back to it.
2 hours later.
Now, with all the marker I had to put on these walls to make them solid, a lot of line work has disappeared, so I'm just going to go over it quickly with my Pilot pen, make the panels pop out again, make all the lines come back to life. Simple, but has to be done. Now, I was wrong earlier speaking about my highlighter. I actually used a Posca pen here, but as you can see, it's too opaque. I don't like the way it came out under the bridge here, but that's how it is, so gotta live with it from now on. We'll leave it like that. Now we're going to do a little bit of weathering, and to touch up on the subject quickly, the process is all about doing these little bubbles, these little lines, these little triangles that I'm later going to fill with a mix of browns and oranges. Just go random. You can make them huge, you can make a lot of small ones. I think I like to see them in the corners of the panels a lot, and sometimes put bigger ones in the near the middle. You can add a few scratches, can add a few dots, anything that makes the panel looks dented, scratched, older than it would be otherwise. So quickly, here we go with the pen, making those little bubbles and little triangles. Alright, we've placed the little bubbles and triangles and scratches where we want them, and I'm taking my trusty potato brown marker, which I think works really well for this, and we'll take an orange one as well. Now I'm really going super simple on this drawing. I'm not trying to make it realistic in any way. Normally I would add a little bit of a darker brown as well to make the rust more lifelike, but here we're just going to use this potato brown and a bit of orange. Just fill up those potatoes and triangles we did earlier, and that's pretty much it. And then we can add some scratches and some spills maybe with the ink pen on the walls to give them even a little more texture. And that's pretty much it. We're pretty near the end of the drawing here, so we're going to do a bit of sky still, throw on a few more highlights, redefine a few lines like I do here. And that's it. Let's see how it looks when it's done. Here you are, just adding a few lines, a few scratches, a little bit of texture to the walls to make them look a little aged. And that's pretty much it. And look at that, I managed to keep it just over 15 minutes for once. Give me your opinion on this video. I'd be happy to hear what I did well or what I did bad. and try and focus on the next one as soon as I can, where we'll be talking more about texture, weathering, and with a little bit of a focus on rust mostly. So there you go. Thank you for dropping by. If you liked any of this, do give a like and a subscribe. It really helps a lot. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.